What if I told you that every successful person you admire broke a rule you still follow? While you're playing by the handbook of being good, being fair, being nice, the truly powerful are rewriting the game entirely. They're using strategies so psychologically brutal that society wrapped them in shame to keep you from discovering them. And here's what's even more terrifying. These 33 truths aren't just theories, but actual practical principles. The people who run the biggest businesses, win elections, and build empires not only know these secrets, they live by them on a daily basis. Machiavelli didn't invent these rules. He simply had the courage to write them down. And now, you are about to discover why the most successful people in history were willing to be called monsters to get what they really wanted. What are you willing to become to finally win the game of life? Truth 1. Everyone secretly ranks you. Right now, every person in your social circle has unconsciously placed you in a hierarchy. Some they admire, some they tolerate, some they secretly despise. You do this too, though you pretend otherwise. This invisible ranking system determines how they treat you, what opportunities they share, and whether they genuinely celebrate your success or merely perform enthusiasm while plotting to surpass you. You're not equally valued by everyone who calls you friend. The brutal mathematics of friendship means someone in your group is at the bottom. Someone gets invited last, included reluctantly, talked about when they're absent. Your friends discuss you when you're not there, analyzing your choices, judging your relationships, cataloging your failures. They measure your success against their own and adjust their behavior accordingly. When you're struggling, they feel superior and generous. When you're thriving, they feel threatened and competitive. The friend who celebrates your promotion might also be updating their resume. The one who comforts you during breakups might secretly enjoy your romantic failures because it makes them feel better about their own relationship. Truth 2. Playing the victim card is a losing strategy. You didn't randomly encounter that toxic boss, manipulative partner, or exploitative friend. You selected them. Your psychological makeup, your unconscious signals, your unhealed wounds, they all combine to create a perfect hunting ground. Machiavelli warned that predators don't waste time on the aware. They target the vulnerable, the eager to please, the ones who mistake attention for affection. You were chosen because you made yourself choosable. Your desperate need for validation broadcasts like a beacon. Your fear of abandonment makes you tolerate intolerable behavior. The victim mindset isn't about what happened to you. It's about the energy you project that attracts those who feed on weakness. Your unresolved trauma creates patterns that predators recognize instinctively. They can smell your desperation for love, approval, or security from across a room. Until you heal what makes you attractive to toxic people, you'll keep attracting them while wondering why you have such terrible luck with relationships. Truth 3. Everyone is performing their virtue. That friend who constantly posts about helping others. That colleague who speaks eloquently about integrity. They're not living these values. They're performing them for an audience. True virtue operates in silence. The moment someone needs witnesses for their goodness, you're watching calculated image management. The most virtuous people you know probably never told you about it. Real integrity doesn't require announcement or applause. Social media has turned virtue into performance art. People carefully curate their charitable acts, their moral stances, their righteous anger, all for maximum visibility and approval. Behind closed doors, these same individuals often behave in ways that directly contradict their public personas. The person who lectures about environmental responsibility flies private jets. The advocate for workers' rights exploits their employees. The champion of equality practices favoritism. When someone makes their virtue visible, question their motives. Authentic goodness doesn't need an audience. Performed virtue is usually hiding authentic selfishness underneath the carefully constructed moral costume. Truth 4. The nice guy will be manipulated relentlessly. While you're busy being considerate, someone else is calculating. They've noticed your patterns, your hesitations, your need to be liked. and they're using every single one against you. The uncomfortable reality is that your moral compass becomes their roadmap to manipulating you. Every time you choose kindness over strategy, you hand them another tool for your defeat. They know you'll say yes when you want to say no. They know you'll absorb blame to keep peace. They know you'll sacrifice your interests to maintain relationships. Your niceness creates predictable responses they can exploit. The person who always helps becomes the person everyone dumps their problems on. The one who never complains becomes the one who gets the worst assignments. Your virtue becomes their shortcut to getting what they want, while you get what's left over. Nice people don't finish last by accident. They're systematically placed there by those who understand that kindness without boundaries is just free labor waiting to be harvested. Truth 5. Love is temporary, fear is forever. Machiavelli understood human behavior deeply. He saw that people's affection for you can vanish overnight, but their fear of consequences remains constant. Build your success on being indispensable, not likable. The person who controls valuable resources or information never worries about being abandoned. The person who relies on charm discovers how quickly charm fades when times get difficult. Love is conditional on your behavior, meeting someone's expectations. The moment you disappoint them, hurt them, or stop serving their needs, their love transforms into resentment. But fear of losing something important creates lasting influence. People will betray someone they love if the price is right, but they won't risk destroying something they genuinely need. Machiavelli wasn't advocating cruelty here, but he was recognizing human nature. Make yourself valuable, not just lovable. Develop skills others need, control resources others want, possess information others require. When you're useful, you're protected. When you're merely beloved, you're expendable the moment someone more charming appears. Fear doesn't mean terror. It means respect for your ability to impact their life significantly. Truth 6. Your biggest competitor shares your bed. Your romantic partner is simultaneously your greatest ally and your most intimate adversary. They know your weaknesses, your fears, your secret shames. In quiet moments, they're calculating whether they can do better. The relationships that last aren't built on endless passion. They're built on a deep sense of respect, mutual benefit, and aligned self-interest. Love is the story people tell themselves about strategic partnership. Every successful couple has unconsciously negotiated a deal, what each person brings to the relationship and what they expect to get in return in the long run. Your partner sees your worst moments, your failures, your vulnerabilities. They witness your incompetence firsthand. Sometimes they use this knowledge to help you grow. Other times, they use it to maintain advantage in the relationship's power dynamics. Deciding on your long-term partner is therefore a decision of the utmost importance. It's greatly influential to the future direction of your life. The person who sleeps next to you every night knows exactly how to destroy you emotionally, financially, and socially. They have access to your secrets, your resources, your children, your reputation. They're either your greatest asset or your most dangerous liability. The difference depends on whether your interests remain aligned or whether they decide you've become an obstacle to their happiness. Truth 7. Success attracts saboteurs, not supporters. Every achievement you celebrate creates invisible enemies. Your promotion threatens someone else's ambition. Your happiness reminds others of their dissatisfaction. Your growth makes their stagnation unbearable. The people closest to you when you were struggling won't necessarily be your biggest cheerleaders when you're thriving. Success forces everyone around you to confront their own limitations, and many will choose to diminish you rather than elevate themselves. Your achievements become mirrors reflecting other people's failures. Your new relationship highlights their loneliness. Your business success emphasizes their career stagnation. Your fitness transformation reminds them of their poor health choices. Instead of using your success as motivation, they prefer to find reasons why you don't deserve it. Sabotage rarely looks like obvious attack. It appears as subtle undermining, passive-aggressive comments, withdrawal of support during crucial moments, or spreading doubt about your capabilities. The colleague who congratulates you publicly might be questioning your qualifications privately. The friend who seems happy for your success might also be hoping it doesn't last. Success isolates you from those who can't achieve it and attracts the resentment of those who refuse to try. Truth 8. Your story is someone else's cautionary tale. While you're living your life as the hero of your own adventure, others are watching and cataloging your mistakes as lessons in what not to do. Your breakup teaches them about relationship red flags. Your career setback shows them which paths to avoid. Your public embarrassment becomes their private education. You are simultaneously the protagonist of your story and a supporting character in everyone else's. People learn more from observing your failures than your successes. Your mistakes provide them with free wisdom about consequences they want to avoid. Your poor decisions become case studies they reference when making their own choices. The irony is brutal. While you're struggling through difficult experiences, trying to learn and grow from your mistakes, others are benefiting from your pain without having to pay the price you paid. Your expensive lessons become their cheap education. Your reputation becomes a cautionary tale they tell their children, their friends, their colleagues. The person who lost everything gambling becomes the example of why others should avoid casinos. The individual who trusted the wrong business partner becomes the reason others scrutinize contracts more carefully. Your suffering becomes their protection. Know your worth and recognize the honor in being the one that takes the uncomfortable path, while others aren't even brave enough to try. Truth 9. The loudest moral voice hides the darkest secrets. The person who speaks most passionately about honesty is usually hiding the biggest lie. The one who condemns others' sexual behavior is often struggling with their own desires. The champion of loyalty has probably betrayed someone recently. Moral grandstanding is psychological projection. When someone becomes the voice of virtue, start wondering what they're trying to convince themselves they're not. The human psyche projects its hidden darkness onto others as a defense mechanism. The politician who campaigns on family values is having an affair. The religious leader who preaches purity is struggling with addiction. The activist who fights against corruption is embezzling funds. The parent who lectures about responsibility is avoiding their own obligations. Excessive moral preaching serves as camouflage for hidden guilt. By loudly condemning behaviors in others, they create distance from their own similar actions. They convince themselves and others that someone who speaks so passionately against wrongdoing couldn't possibly be guilty of it themselves. The most dangerous people are often those who present themselves as moral authorities. They use their proclaimed virtue as a weapon against others, while secretly engaging in the very behaviors they publicly condemn. Trust actions over words, especially when the words are particularly righteous. Truth 10. Your children will betray your values. Every parent believes they're raising children who will honor their teachings, but children unconsciously rebel against their parents' core beliefs as a biological imperative for independence. Your deepest values, the ones you sacrifice for, fight for, live by, will become the very things your children reject to establish their own identity. The cycle continues as they raise children who reject their rebellion. The conservative parent raises the liberal activist. The religious fundamentalist creates the atheist philosopher. The workaholic breeds the minimalist who values time over money. Children don't reject their parents' values because they're wrong. They reject them because they need to become themselves rather than extensions of their parents. This betrayal isn't personal malice, it's evolutionary necessity. Each generation must differentiate itself from the previous one to adapt to changing circumstances. Your children will judge your choices through the lens of their era, finding your methods outdated and your priorities misguided. The values you spent decades developing and sacrificing to uphold will seem primitive to your children at first. They'll embrace ideas that horrify you, make choices that confuse you, and judge you for not being more like them. The good news? As children grow older, they tend to understand your perspective more and more. Rebellion turns into acceptance and gratitude, at least partly. When you get through the storm together, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Truth 11. Gratitude has an expiration date. Help someone once, and they appreciate you. Help them repeatedly, and they begin to expect it. Continue helping, and they start to resent you for making them feel dependent. The successful leader knows that ongoing assistance creates entitlement, not loyalty. People prefer to feel powerful rather than grateful. The moment your help becomes expected, it loses all value as social currency. Human psychology transforms generosity into obligation through repetition. The person you rescue from financial ruin feels grateful initially, but if you continue supporting them, that gratitude morphs into expectation, then resentment. They begin to view your help as something they deserve, rather than something you choose to give. Machiavelli observed that people hate being reminded of their dependence. Continuous aid makes them feel weak and creates psychological debt they can never repay. Eventually, they either distance themselves from you to escape the feeling of obligation, or they convince themselves that you owe them help because of some perceived wrong you've committed. Strategic generosity means helping enough to create gratitude, but not enough to create dependence. The person who feels temporarily grateful becomes an ally. The person who feels permanently obligated becomes an enemy who wishes you would disappear so they could forget their debt to you. Truth 12. Your trauma is someone else's opportunity. The moments when you're most vulnerable, grieving, divorcing, failing, struggling, are precisely when others position themselves for advantage. While you're processing pain, they're processing opportunity. Your temporary weakness becomes their permanent gain. The people who appear during your darkest moments aren't always there to help. Many are there to harvest what your crisis makes available. Trauma creates opportunities for predators who specialize in exploiting vulnerability. The person going through divorce becomes susceptible to romantic manipulation. The individual facing financial crisis becomes prey for loan sharks and get-rich-quick schemes. The grieving person becomes target for spiritual charlatans and emotional vampires. Your crisis makes you desperate for solutions, support, and salvation. This desperation creates decision-making conditions that benefit those who understand how to exploit emotional turmoil. While you're drowning, they're learning to swim in the chaos you've created. Truth 13. Everyone can become the best. Every system that promises equality ultimately creates new hierarchies. The revolutionaries who fight against oppression become the new oppressors. The marginalized who gain power often wield it more ruthlessly than those they replaced. Hierarchy is a law of nature, not a social construct. Energy, intelligence, ambition, and opportunity will always distribute unevenly, creating winners and losers, regardless of the system's noble intentions. Even in systems designed for equality, some people work harder, think clearer, take bigger risks, or simply get luckier. These differences compound over time, creating disparities that grow into hierarchies. The communist state creates party elites. The democratic society creates wealthy influencers. The cooperative business creates informal power structures. Equality movements often succeed in changing who holds power, but rarely succeed in eliminating power structures themselves. The oppressed become oppressors because power corrupts, regardless of the holder's original intentions or moral foundations. The pursuit of equality is noble, but ultimately futile, because it fights against fundamental aspects of human nature and natural law. Differences in ability, motivation, and circumstances will always create unequal outcomes. The only equality that exists is the equality of everyone's right to compete in an inherently unequal game. Truth 14. Your identity is your prison. The stronger your sense of self, the more predictable you become. Your identity creates a box of acceptable behaviors, thoughts, and choices. Others learn to manipulate this box. The person who says he would never do something specific is the easiest person to control. All anyone has to do is make that forbidden thing appear to be the only moral choice. Your integrity becomes the lock on your own cage. Identity creates limitations that restrict your adaptability. The person who identifies as honest can't use strategic deception even when it would benefit them. The individual who sees themselves as loyal can't abandon toxic relationships even when staying causes harm. The one who prides themselves on consistency can't change course even when their path leads to destruction. Others exploit your identity by creating situations where your self-image forces specific responses. They know the helper will help, the loyal will stay loyal, the honest will tell the truth. Your predictability becomes their power over you. The most successful people maintain flexible identities that adapt to circumstances. They're honest when honesty serves them, loyal when loyalty benefits them, helpful when helping advances their goals. They prioritize effectiveness over consistency, results over reputation. Your rigid identity might feel authentic, but it also makes you easy to defeat by anyone who understands your psychological limitations. Truth 15. Cruelty can be kind. Sometimes the harshest action in the short term creates the most beneficial outcome long term. Think of a parent who enforces difficult boundaries or a boss who demands excellence. Modern society confuses kindness with enabling. True compassion often requires temporary discomfort to prevent permanent damage. Swift, decisive cruelty prevents prolonged suffering. The surgeon who cuts to remove cancer is cruel in the moment, but kind in the outcome. And the teacher who fails a student forces them to learn what they're avoiding. Machiavelli observed that leaders who tried to be universally liked often caused more suffering than those who made hard decisions quickly. The ruler who delays necessary but unpopular decisions allows problems to compound until the eventual solution requires far more cruelty than immediate action would have demanded. Misplaced kindness enables destructive behavior, prolongs suffering, and prevents growth. The person who shields others from consequences robs them of learning opportunities. Sometimes the cruelest thing you can do is be too kind to someone who needs harsh reality to change their destructive patterns. Truth 16. Your reputation is worth more than your character. Character matters to you. Reputation matters to everyone else. And everyone else determines your opportunities, relationships, and success on the basis of your reputation. You can be the most ethical person alive, but if your reputation suggests otherwise, you'll face the consequences of crimes you never committed. Meanwhile, people with terrible character but excellent reputations navigate life with ease. Reputation is perception, and perception becomes reality in the minds of others. The person who appears trustworthy gets trusted, regardless of whether they deserve it. The individual who seems competent gets opportunities, even if their actual skills are limited. Character operates in private moments when no one is watching. Reputation operates in public spaces where everyone is judging. Your character affects your conscience. Your reputation affects your options. The dark truth is that most people will never know your true character. They'll judge you based on limited interactions, secondhand information, and surface-level observations. They'll make decisions about your trustworthiness, competence, and value based on incomplete data and first impressions. Protect your reputation more fiercely than your character. Truth 17. Forgiveness is weakness disguised as virtue. The person who repeatedly forgives the same offense isn't virtuous. They're afraid of confrontation, change, or being alone. They've convinced themselves that endurance equals virtue. True forgiveness happens once. Everything after that is enabling. The perpetual forgiver trains others to mistreat them by removing consequences from harmful behavior. Forgiveness without boundaries communicates that actions have no permanent consequences. The person who always forgives cheating teaches their partner that infidelity is acceptable. It's easier to forgive than to enforce boundaries. It's simpler to endure mistreatment than to end relationships, and it's less frightening to stay in familiar dysfunction than to venture into unknown alternatives. Real forgiveness requires the possibility of not forgiving. The most compassionate act is refusing to forgive until genuine change occurs. This forces the offender to confront consequences and transform their behavior instead of relying on your guaranteed absolution. Truth 18. People will steal your greatest ideas. While you pour your heart into creating something meaningful, others are studying your process, connections, and results. They're reverse engineering your passion to build their profit. The thing you do for love becomes the thing they do for money, often with more success because they're not emotionally attached to outdated methods or personal sentiment. Your passion makes you vulnerable to exploitation because you're driven by fulfillment rather than strategy. Meanwhile, others observe your innovation, learn from your mistakes, and improve upon your methods without the emotional baggage that limits your objectivity. They see your passion project as a business opportunity and approach it with cold calculation rather than warm feelings. Protect your greatest ideas and don't tell or show anyone until you're so far ahead that it's almost impossible for others to catch up. Truth 19. Sometimes appearing weak is the ultimate strength. Machiavelli was of the opinion that letting others underestimate you provides enormous strategic advantage. While they're dismissing your capabilities, you're gathering information and positioning for victory. The person everyone overlooks often has the clearest view of the room. Invisibility becomes intelligence. Apparent weakness becomes actual power. When people perceive you as harmless, they speak freely around you. They reveal their plans, fears, and weaknesses because they don't consider you a threat. This information becomes invaluable intelligence that you can use to outmaneuver them when the time is right. Appearing weak also means others don't prepare defenses against you. They focus their energy on more obvious competitors while leaving themselves vulnerable to your surprise attacks. The underestimated opponent has the element of surprise plus the advantage of lower expectations. Machiavelli found out firsthand that rulers who appeared too strong, too early, often triggered coalitions against them. But those who seemed weak until the crucial moment faced less resistance because nobody took them seriously enough to organize opposition. Truth 20. Comfort zone equals failure. Every day you choose comfort over growth, someone else is choosing growth over comfort. The gap between you widens. Your stagnation becomes their opportunity. The life you're protecting by avoiding risk is the same life that's slowly dying from lack of challenge. Safety feels secure, but it's actually the most dangerous long-term strategy. Comfort zones are psychological prisons disguised as safe havens. They protect you from temporary discomfort, but guarantee permanent mediocrity. While you're avoiding short-term pain, you're accumulating long-term regret. Your comfort zone shrinks over time if you don't actively expand it. What felt manageable 5 years ago might feel impossible today if you've been avoiding difficulty. Your capacity for handling stress, uncertainty, and challenge atrophies like unused muscle. At the same time, others are gaining confidence through conquering fears, while you're losing confidence through avoiding them. Truth 21. Everyone has a price. Some prices are monetary, others are emotional, social, or psychological. But everyone can be influenced if you understand what they value most. The person who claims to be incorruptible simply hasn't been offered the right currency yet. Their price might be their child's safety, their family's reputation, or their deepest secret being exposed. Understanding someone's price doesn't mean exploiting it maliciously. It means recognizing what motivates them. The colleague who can't be bribed with money might be influenced by recognition. The friend who doesn't want favors might respond to genuine appreciation. The leader who rejects financial incentives might be swayed by legacy considerations. Everyone prioritizes something above everything else. Find that priority, and you understand their price. The most effective persuasion doesn't feel like manipulation because it aligns with what the person already wants. You're not forcing them to act against their interests. You're showing them how their interests align with your goals. Truth 22. Good intentions create hell. Every action creates unintended consequences. Your charitable donation funds inefficient organizations. Your emotional support enables destructive behavior. Your helpful advice prevents someone from learning crucial lessons. The most dangerous people are often those who genuinely believe they're helping. They cause tremendous damage while feeling virtuous about their methods. Good intentions don't guarantee good outcomes. A parent who protects their child from all dangers, hardships, and potential consequences raises an adult who can't handle adversity. Your desire to help others often comes from your own psychological needs, rather than their actual requirements. People want to feel useful, needed, virtuous, or powerful. These motivations then lead to offering help that serves one's own emotional needs while harming the person they're supposedly helping. The road to hell is paved with good intentions, because intentions matter less than results. The person who means well but consistently creates negative outcomes is more dangerous than the person who means harm but lacks the power to implement it. Before helping others, examine your true motivations and consider the long-term consequences of your assistance. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is refuse to help someone who needs to learn to help themselves. Truth 23. Timing trumps everything. The right action at the wrong time fails, while the wrong action at the right time often succeeds. Perfect opportunities have expiration dates. The moment when someone is ready to hear your message, buy your product, or join your cause might last only days or hours. Miss that window, and you might wait years for another chance. Timing affects everything. When you ask for a raise, when you launch a business, when you end a relationship, or when you make an investment. The same action can succeed or fail based entirely on when it occurs. Context determines outcome more than content. Machiavelli observed that successful leaders developed acute sensitivity to timing. They recognized when circumstances aligned in their favor and acted decisively. They also recognized when conditions weren't right and had the patience to wait for better opportunities. If your gut feeling tells you something, act immediately before you miss the boat. Don't be the person that spends months preparing for opportunities that disappear while they're preparing. Others succeed with inferior plans because they recognize and seize the right moment. Truth 24. You need to make decisions actively. You think you choose your career, relationships, and lifestyle. But often most of your major life decisions are actually made by others, who create the circumstances that force your hand. They decided to be active participants in life instead of passive bystanders. Others study your patterns, predict your needs, and position themselves to be your solution when you're most vulnerable to accepting help. They don't control your choices directly. They control the options available when you're ready to choose. An employer who offers you a position knows you're unhappy at your current job, or a potential partner pursues you, recognizing your relationship status and emotional needs. Others will remove alternatives, create urgency, and structure circumstances to make their preferred outcome seem like your best choice. You're deciding between options they've selected, at times they've determined, under conditions they've influenced. Stop this from happening by actively strategizing, deciding what you want to be, have, and do long-term, and working towards those things on a daily basis, regardless of circumstances and the opinions of others. True freedom requires recognizing when your choices are being manipulated and expanding your options beyond what others want you to consider. The person who controls the menu controls what gets ordered, even when the customer thinks they're choosing freely. Truth 25. Loyalty is almost never permanent. When you're struggling, people feel safe offering help and advice. Your failure makes them feel superior and generous. You feel like you have a real, loyal friend. But once the successes start rolling in, it threatens their self-image and reveals their limitations. The same person who cheered your efforts when you were failing will find reasons to criticize your methods when you're succeeding. Victory isolates you from those who can't achieve it themselves. Failure creates community, because shared struggle bonds people together. Everyone can relate to disappointment, setbacks, and unfulfilled dreams. Your failures make others feel less alone in their own struggles. They offer support because helping you makes them feel better about their own situations. Success creates separation because it highlights differences in capability, motivation, and results. Even when they still appear to be your loyal friend, they might now be looking for free handouts. Test their loyalty strategically. Share a little secret, strategy, or uncomfortable truth and see how they react. Can you trust them on a deeper level? Truth 26. Your secrets control you. Every secret you keep requires energy to maintain. Every hidden truth limits your freedom to act authentically. Your secrets become leverage points others can discover and exploit. The person with no secrets has no vulnerabilities. The person with many secrets lives in constant fear of exposure. Your hidden life controls your visible life more than you realize. Secrets create psychological burden that affects your behavior, decisions, and relationships. You avoid certain topics, people, and situations that might reveal what you're hiding. This avoidance limits your opportunities and forces you into increasingly complex deceptions. Others can sense when you're hiding something, even if they don't know what it is. Your evasiveness, inconsistencies, and defensive reactions signal that you have vulnerabilities they could potentially exploit. The more secrets you keep, the more obvious it becomes that you're keeping them. Machiavelli urges you to stop spending energy on maintaining false personas that could be invested in building genuine relationships and pursuing meaningful goals. The most liberated people are those who have eliminated secrets by either resolving the issues they were hiding or accepting the consequences of disclosure. When you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. When others can't blackmail you, they can't control you through fear of exposure. Truth 27. Fortune only favors the prepared bold. Luck isn't random. It's preparation meeting opportunity. But boldness without preparation is just recklessness, disguised as confidence. The people who seem mysteriously lucky are actually those who've prepared for opportunities that others don't even recognize. They move quickly when chances appear because they've been getting ready for years. Machiavelli distinguished between effective boldness and destructive impulsiveness. Bold action succeeds when it's based on careful analysis, thorough preparation, and strategic timing. Reckless action fails because it's based on emotion, wishful thinking, and poor judgment. Preparation creates the foundation for bold action. This is the entrepreneur who seems to succeed overnight, but actually spent years developing skills, building networks, and understanding markets. When the right opportunity appears, they're ready to act decisively, while others are still figuring out what's happening. The most successful people carefully craft their skills, work hard in silence, and then strike with decisive action. Truth 28. Everyone needs a mentor. Every person you admire has mastered something you struggle with. Their expertise exists precisely in the areas where you feel incompetent. The person who struggles with confidence seeks mentors who exude self-assurance. The individual who lacks discipline admires those who demonstrate self-control. The one who fears public speaking is drawn to charismatic communicators. Your weaknesses create hunger for improvement that makes you receptive to instruction. Strong people in your weak areas can see your potential for growth and feel motivated to help develop it. They remember their own struggles with similar challenges and want to help you overcome them faster. This dynamic explains why some of the best teachers are those who've overcome significant challenges rather than those who never struggled. They understand the psychological barriers, practical obstacles, and emotional resistance that students face because they've faced them themselves. Your weaknesses aren't character flaws. They're learning opportunities that connect you with people who are ready and able to help you grow. The key is approaching them with curiosity, gratitude, and admiration. Truth 29. You change the game by refusing to play. The moment you stop competing in someone else's game, you force them to play by new rules. Your withdrawal from their system of measurement makes their achievements meaningless. The person who refuses to engage in status competitions, social hierarchies, or approval-seeking behavior becomes impossible to control through conventional methods. Non-participation is the ultimate power move. When you stop playing the game, others expect you to play. You force them to either change their approach or lose influence over you. The colleague who tries to make you jealous with their success loses power when you genuinely stop caring about their achievements. The friend who manipulates through guilt can't control you when you refuse to feel guilty. Stepping out of established games requires creating your own success metrics rather than accepting others' definitions of winning and losing. You define what matters to you instead of letting society, family, or peers determine your priorities. The most liberated people are those who've stopped playing games they never wanted to play in the first place. They've quit jobs that made them miserable, ended relationships that drained them, and abandoned pursuits that served others' expectations rather than their own values. When you stop playing someone else's game, you automatically create a new one. Truth 30. Your death gives your life meaning. People don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. Your mortality creates urgency. Your finite time makes your attention valuable. Your eventual absence makes your presence precious. The awareness that you will die is what makes others want to be remembered by you. Immortality would make you worthless because there would be infinite time to reconnect later. Death creates scarcity, and scarcity creates value. If you lived forever, your time would be infinite, and therefore barely worth anything. If relationships could be repaired indefinitely, people wouldn't treasure them. If opportunities were endless, nobody would feel urgency to seize them. Your mortality forces prioritization. With limited time, you must choose what matters most. These choices create the meaning and significance that define your life. It creates the opportunity to work on a legacy people will admire, especially when they're not willing to put in the same effort. Force your children, grandchildren, and even society as a whole to see you as a truly honorable person by doing extraordinary things. Create something lasting, influence others for centuries, and leave a world that is significantly changed because you were here. Your mortality isn't the enemy of meaning, it's the creator of it. Truth 31. Power shared is power lost. True power cannot be distributed without being diminished. The moment you give someone else authority over your decisions, resources, or destiny, you've weakened your position. Collaboration feels virtuous, but every partnership divides control. Machiavelli tells you that some battles must be fought alone because shared victory is diluted victory. Power operates by different rules than other resources. When you share money, both parties have less money. When you share power, both parties have less power. But the total amount of power in the relationship also decreases because nobody can make final decisions quickly. Shared power creates conflict because different people have different priorities, timelines, and risk tolerances. The energy spent negotiating, compromising, and coordinating reduces the total power available for achieving goals. Democracy is slow precisely because power is distributed among many people who must agree before acting. Machiavelli doesn't see dictatorship as the answer, but he did recognize that decisive action requires concentrated authority. Become a leader, a ruler of your own life, and you will be the one that has all the power. Gather valuable information and perspectives from others, but always make the final decision yourself. Truth 32. The ones in power decide the perception of history. Everything people build, create, or achieve will be filtered through future perspectives you can't predict or control. Intentions will be judged by standards that don't exist yet. The story of your life will partly be told by people who never met you, influenced by cultural values you can't anticipate, and propaganda tied to their own interests. Historical figures demonstrate how legacy interpretation changes over time. Heroes become villains as values shift. Villains become heroes as contexts change. The The same actions get praised in one era and condemned in another. Know that you only have limited control over how your story gets told after you're gone. This is why you have to maximize the part you do have control over. Cold, hard facts can rarely be changed completely, only slightly. The first step to preventing history from being rewritten is become the one in power yourself. The more powerful you are, the more you are in control of the story being told. Truth 33, the final truth. The darkest truth of all is that information without implementation is just intellectual entertainment. Most people who learn these patterns will nod in recognition, feel momentarily enlightened, and then return to the same behaviors that keep them trapped. They'll treat this knowledge like interesting trivia rather than actionable intelligence. The secret is to translate these harsh, real truths into daily habits, leading to the achievement of long-term goals. Replace lust with lecturing yourself. Replace cheap dopamine with deep fulfillment. Replace automated behaviors that lead nowhere with structured plans that lead to whatever ambitious achievement is most exciting to you. Take the path of most resistance. Play the game of power intelligently, and nothing will stop you. Once you see the game clearly, you can never go back to pretending it doesn't exist. You either learn to play it better, or you spend the rest of your life being played by those who understand what you've chosen to ignore. Every person is the ruler of their own life. Will you live it with eyes wide open, or remain a subject in someone else's kingdom?